Okay, so welcome everyone to IPM's weekly forum, where we gather together each Friday, now at 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States, 8 a.m. in San Francisco, and 9 a.m. in El Salvador. We're joined by Eneyda Ramos, who is the regional coordinator for Project Partnerships with IPM. She's been with IPM since this past October, has a very accomplished and diverse resume for someone, and has just spent, unfortunately, as some of you know, almost 2 months basically in quarantine in the Dominican Republic. She traveled there with her colleague, our colleague, Vicky Jimenez, to welcome a delegation from Stonehill College in Massachusetts, just as the pandemic was sort of causing international travel disruption. And so they were stuck in the DR for quite some time, then came back and were in quarantine in El Salvador and are now happily at home, but really still in a lockdown in that country, not able to travel between regions, which makes it very difficult for people who have family in other parts of the country, or in Eneyda's case, her boyfriend is in another part of the broader San Salvador capital. Wonderful guy that I had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times now. And we're just really thrilled today, following up on the conversations we've already had with Adela, our International Director of Programs and Partnerships, Mahesh Upadhyaya, the Regional Director for South Asia, and Hemant Chauhan, the Fellow in India, and also with Vicky Jimenez, the Coordinator of our Immersion Experience Program, and last week with Alyssa Bovell on the research project that we're currently conducting around the impact of the pandemic on IPM's partners, particularly in the Latin American and South Asian regions. And so without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Eneyda. Typically the presentations are 20-25 minutes long, and then we'll open it up for questions from those on the Zoom call. You can type into your chat function, and those on Facebook as well. We'll try to relay your questions or comments to Eneyda at the end of her presentation. So thank you again for joining us for this Friday's IPM Virtual Forum. And Eneyda, welcome. We look forward to hearing from you and learning with you.
Okay, thank you so much, and welcome everybody to my presentation. As Joe said, my name is Eneyda Ramos, and I'm the Regional Associate for Latin America and the Caribbean. And today I'm going to present reflections of the Dominican Republic and COVID-19, and I want to explain briefly what I'm going to talk about. Firstly, I'm going to explain how Cercado development works. Then a personal reflection, what do I think about El Cercado? General reflections about COVID-19 in our Latin America region. And finally, I'm going to show you the results that we got from a satisfaction survey from a workshop that Vicky, Adela, and I created. Okay, so let's begin. Our visit in El Cercado was from March 5th to March 14th. We went to get to know closely the work of Joanna Peterson, who has been a community partner for a long time. She's part of the social ministry of the St. Peter the Apostle Church of El Cercado. And as introduction, I want to explain how Cercado development works. So El Cercado is in the southwest of the Dominican Republic, 20 miles from Haiti. Its population is 25,688 according to a census of 2012. And as you can see here, this is the map of Dominican Republic, and in this red point is El Cercado, or San Juan, which is the province. In this picture is a closer view of El Cercado, or San Juan. And here is El Cercado in this area. So El Cercado development is thanks to the social ministry, which is part of the St. Peter the Apostle Church and operates in 84 Christian-based communities in El Cercado in different areas: health, education, agriculture, and economic solidarity. In health, in this area, the social ministry works on the construction community water system with chlorination filters. It's exactly what we see here in this picture. During our visit, by the time we went to this place, it wasn't finished, this tank, but this tank will provide water to the communities that don't have. Also, they have the Society of Saint Vincent de Paul with monthly deliveries of food bags to elderly and disabled persons. Here we see Vicky is carrying a food bag. And that day we delivered 25 food bags to different families in El Cercado. Also, they have built outdoors latrines. They have worked with the local government with the construction of medical clinics for surgery, eye exam, ultrasound, and dentistry. And finally, the senior daycare center serving food, medicine, consultations, and recreation, which is what we see in this picture. Here is Vicky playing bingo with the ladies. That day was really amazing. We learned a lot from the work that this center is doing for their seniors in this case. So in the education area, they have the Retreat Information Center with lodging facilities available for 60 people. This is the place where we stayed during our visit. This picture was taken from the second floor, which is like a lobby there. And you see this amazing view and the weather is really cool. They work for children and youth through the Child and Youth Protection Committee to prevent domestic violence. This is work they do along with the government. And also they have been in charge of the construction and administration of Francis Xavier Grammar School, Fe y Alegría, and St. Francis of Assisi High School, Fe y Alegría. This is a representation. During this day, everybody was gathered there because they were celebrating Women's Day, and some grades prepared some performance to show to everybody. And Fe y Alegría School started in 2008 with 82 children rescued from the street, basically boys and girls who were really rebellious. They came from divided families and where a caregiver was in their charge. So nowadays, they don't rescue children from the street because everybody have access to school now, but they keep an eye on those children who are kind of difficult and to make sure that they are attending classes. So the educational system in Dominican Republic in general is basically equal to the United States, divided into preschool, elementary, and high school. And in this picture, over here, we see Joanna Peterson, and this is the Rumbadero Youth Center. Its construction began in 2014. It is a center built with 50,000 plastic bottles like bricks that offers workshops on computer and sexual reproductive education for young people. I wanted to show you this because participants from our Immersion Experience program were part of this process. So in the agriculture area, the social ministry works on the Federation of St. Peter and St. Paul developing sustainable agriculture, which includes open file vegetable gardens. They practice solidarity, and I'm telling you this because in this picture, we were in a property that didn't belong to anyone who was there. The owner was in a medical appointment in the capital, but all her neighbors came to help her plant. I asked to Chana, who is the girl next to Vicky in this picture, and she told me that it's very common that they do, that they help each other when they are having problems. Also, the Federation sells the remaining vegetable from the greenhouses, which is something very helpful because this project not only works for food sovereignty, but also to get some income. And the Federation works on the germinating seedling structures. They have organic seed banks, organic worm farms, and also works on the use of soil conservation, providing training. They have a program of reforestation of degraded mountainsides and road repair projects. And in the last element, we have the area of economic solidarity. We found Women in Development of Mano a Mano, Hand in Hand, is a women's micro-enterprise cooperative factory with 17 members producing peanut butter, candy, and a protein supplement called Nutri4 for malnourished children and seniors. This is a picture that we have of Mano a Mano. And they started in 2007, thanks to seed money from IPM. During our visit to them, we learned that this is more than a workplace for them. It's a space of coexistence, solidarity, empowerment, and learning. This project has given women the opportunity to earn an income and become more empowered, as they recognize that the project is a space where they have gained other roles, and now they don't see themselves only as wives or mothers. And we can see the real meaning that this project is for them by this quote. Women is a valuable being, and God has not created us just to stay at home, but to leave home and integrate with other women. I receive values, experiences from my group, and they receive from me. We support each other. We have to go out and help other women. By Sulema from Mano a Mano. Sulema is, well, probably you don't see her, but is here in this picture. And then another program is the Saving and Loan Group. In this one, this is a representation in this picture below. Children, women, men, and youth gather to form a saving and loan group where they are the ones who establish the rules and fees for their own groups. This way, they have become more conscious on their needs and more empowered toward their economy. These saving and loan groups represent an important opportunity for their beneficiaries because they not only have the opportunity to save, but to earn interest of the loans that the group has made during a year. Actually, well, now they are 48 groups and more are being created and trained. The one who's in charge of this area is Chana. You don't see her good in this picture, but she's the one who's in charge of these two areas. And something I can tell you is that, here is Chana. You see her better in this picture. And she's Joanna. So all that effort is thanks to Joanna Peterson and her team. Without a doubt, the role that Joanna has within the territory is undeniable, like Chana's leadership. As I told you, she's the technique of the agriculture and saving groups. Both have the role of facilitators for me. And understanding this role according to Costa Magna and La Rea as one that creates spaces for dialogue as a process of change. Building a shared vision help to negotiate conflict situation, build relationships of trust, and create conditions for the actors of the territory to reflect, decide, and take action. This cyclically maintained process generates collective capacities in the territory. It is what we have seen through all this presentation, and is exactly what we saw during our visit in El Cercado. So what happened in El Cercado is a process of territorial development understood as the strategies developed from the mobilization and active participation of the territorial actors. This is an action that arises from the population and not from the state or the province. This is an effort that has been largely thanks to the creation of capacities in the population, understanding these capacities as the most important elements of quality of life of people, such as health, physical integrity, education, and other aspects of individual lives, according to Newsbound. So what I want to say with this is that they are understanding development completely different to the common meaning that development is understood in other cases. In this case, they are understanding development as the creation of capacities on people, empower them. So in that way, they can make decisions and they can decide what way or path they want to follow for their own well-being. So because normally develop is understood as economic growth or modern structures, modern buildings, factories, industry, but in this case it's completely different, and they are following the correct way to develop a territory for me. So the development is carried out in coordination with local, public, private, and international organizations, which allow progress to be made in achieving long-term lasting actions. Likewise, the gender perspective is integrated in each process, which undoubtedly allows empowering women, as in the case of Mano a Mano or the saving and group and land groups, but at the same time incorporating children, youth, and men in this process in order to create a more equitable and egalitarian society among its members. So for me, they work in a holistic way because they are integrating education, health, they are taking care of the environment in this area of agriculture, and they are integrating men, youth, and children in the gender perspective. They not only work with women, but they are including everybody in this process. So that's what I can reflect about El Cercado. And now I want to share with you what is going on in El Cercado now with the COVID-19. So firstly, the government is helping people with 5,000 Dominican pesos, which in dollars is like 86, and they are doing this monthly. There are many people that has managed to eat thanks to these programs. The government is paying 70% of the salary of employees, of small and medium-sized companies to avoid unemployment. They also pay 70% of Social Security, and the rest, 30%, is paid by the employer. The only bad thing is that there are no medical appointments. Everything is focusing on the emergency. It is difficult to attend people who have other illnesses. And this is a problem for the people of the senior center. They have obtained an evangelical clinic in the town, and Joanna is in charge to taking them to the clinic. But unfortunately, one of the elderly has died from lack of care in hospitals. They are about to leave. I mean, the government is about to leave the quarantine, and right now they have a curfew from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. The social ministry has distributed 6,000 masks, soap, detergent, milk, protein, and food to the elderly on weekends, but every day they cook for a group of 33 elderly who are the most vulnerable. The social ministry is helping people who don't apply to the government programs with food bags. They have delivered more than 1,200 bags of food, and they have worked in social distancing. In business, they have marked on the ground the distance that must exist between people. The Federation sells vegetables on a mobile basis since the market are closed. These vegetables comes from the women's greenhouses. The women have 8 sales booths in total so that people can have vegetables. The senior center sends medication and beds to the most vulnerable. They have been very active during this quarantine, and they have a program called Maternal and Child Program that is stopped right now, but they will open it in July to provide multivitamins and medical appointments to pregnant women and to provide vaccines to these women and to the children. And so here we see she's Glory. She's Joanna's daughter, and she's delivering masks. So what I can reflect on in the face of this pandemic is that the current economic system is not capable of bringing well-being to people. It is a system that conceives people as numbers. In simple words, if you don't produce money, you are nothing. And this pandemic, together with an economic system like this, it has only deepened poverty, violence, and unemployment, and gender inequality. According to a report of the United Nations Women, recognizes that women are essential in the fight against the outbreak, for being the first responders, health workers and professionals, community volunteers and carriers, as well as being disproportionately affected by the crisis. Women are in the front line of the response and bear greater physical and emotional cost, as well as a higher risk of infection in the crisis response. Currently in our regions, many women have returned to depend economically on others, or have gone to work despite the danger of infection because they have to eat, to feed their children. Also, I can see the little recognition of caring. Now, more than ever, women are working at home to care for their children and elderly. They are doing a whole job that is not recognized by the state or by this system, because the caring doesn't produce money, but it does play an important role in economic production. To improve the conditions of women, the efforts of the state and institutions are needed to implement actions that reduce the time that women spend on care and can enter the labor market on equal terms with men. And second, a self-reflective effort is needed to transform the thought that exists about care from the different spaces of socialization. This will allow a better distribution of home care, understanding that these are shared and not an innate task of women. However, despite this pandemic has allowed family and community ties to be strengthened. And I'm telling you this because I was speaking with one of our project partners, Teresa, from our Acomujersa here in El Salvador. And she was telling me that something good about this pandemic is that she has more time to share with her daughters, to cook delicious recipes for them, to help them with their homework. And now she knows the names of her neighbors because before this pandemic, she was so focused on, generating incomes and very busy that most of the time she left behind some important things, So that's something good about this. And a final reflection is that solidarity is a very important element in order to continue facing crises like this. With the help of all of you, IPM has been able to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable in our regions. With the delivery of food bags or with workshops such as the one that Vicky, Adele, and I created on managing anxiety, and that you can watch it on YouTube. This is a workshop that has the intention to help people to acquire new tools to manage and understanding their emotions. We did a satisfaction survey to evaluate our work. We received 9 answers, 8 people from Nicaragua and 1 from El Salvador, between the ages of 28 to 57 years old. So I share with you some of the statements and the answers that we got. And in these pictures, you can see a group of women that are watching the video, and this is like a picture of the video. So the COVID intervention workshop was taken by 1 man and 8 women. The first statement is, the video helped me identify my emotions. 1 is a bad grade and 5 is a good grade. So in this case, we have the column of the evaluation and here the participants, and we got 5. So, which is the highest number. Then the workshop helped me manage my emotions. And in here we got a 4.89 average number. Next one, the intervention of international partners in mission was useful. And we got 5 again. And I will recommend this workshop to others. Then we got again 5, and everybody answered. So the last question is like, please write the comments and recommendation that you think is convenient for us to improve. And in this case, I chose 4 comments that we received, but I have to tell you that everybody commented, but I just choose like a few ones. So here you can read. I have problems too. Okay, so the first one says, I think it is very good. Perhaps I recommend doing these workshops more often, not only in times of crisis. They made me get everything out of me. I ended up crying. What a beautiful experience. Thank you very much from the heart. Then another comment is, the workshop is super great. I congratulate you for your great effort. Another is, it was very interesting for me. It is very useful to apply to the group of scholarship students and with my family. And finally, it was helpful because in these moments that we live, we don't even realize what emotionally happened to us. We don't identify the emotions and much less how to handle them. Thanks Adela, thanks IPM for your exercises. It was practical to release stress and emotions. So what I can say about this process is that psychology is very important in all aspects of life, and that this type of workshops offer the opportunity to help other projects in this area, since many don't have the resources to access this type of service on a regular basis. Being away from home for 2 months, I can tell you that without my support network, the one that I built while I was in the Dominican Republic and the one that I already had in El Salvador, meaning my family, friends, my fiance, I wouldn't have been able to maintain a positive attitude and continue my work. I tell you then that we never forget solidarity with the most vulnerable, justice for social change and peace so that children, youth, and women can live in a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Eneyda. That was, I think, a wonderful overview of your experience and the remarkable work that Joanna Peterson and so many other people have been doing in La República Dominicana, the Dominican Republic, for so many years now. Some of you know that she was one of the first IPM people I met at a gathering in honor of Paul Strege, I think back in probably mid-1990s, around Paul's retirement, when all the IPM Project Partners from around the world were brought to St. Louis to share. And I remember just being blown away by her work at that point, and that was probably close to 25 years ago. And she just keeps going. And you know, IPM continues to partner with her in a bit of a less formal way. in the sense that we bring delegations a couple times a year in a normal kind of climate when people are able to travel. She or representatives of her team participate in our regional gatherings each year, typically in El Salvador. This year would have been in Nicaragua, happening next month, but has been postponed and will probably be virtual in this case now later this year. And through the many other members of her staff have participated with us and worked alongside us. She was very supportive when we were supporting a school in Haiti for a number of years that was being built, and also after hurricanes there. I remember trekking into Haiti over the border with her by mule and foot to bring the plumpy nut or the peanut butter supplement that she produces to a small convent in Savonette, a girls' school that had basically been become a center for young girls fleeing Port-au-Prince and needing a place to go. So she's, I think I said a couple of weeks ago on one of these forums, there are really only 2 North American women working anywhere in the world that we still support directly or still are directly in partnership with, which was part of the indigenization, the intentional indigenization or decolonization of IPM. But as long as Joanna is doing the work she's doing, just like Anna Gregg in El Salvador, I'm sure we'll all be thrilled to partner with her. And I would invite all of you when the travel bans are lifted to consider going and spending some time with her. I know some of the folks on the Zoom call and on Facebook Live, as I can see who's on, have already visited with her. And I know the students from the Stonehill College in Massachusetts have really, it's kind of the highlight of the senior year for their campus ministry program to be able to bring people to spend a couple weeks with Joanna and her team. And her 2 remarkable daughters who bent over backwards to accommodate Eneyda and Vicky in the Capitol when they were quarantined for a couple of months. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions. We have, I don't know, I'm not sure if I can count right, but something like 16 or 17 people on Zoom, I think now 14, if I don't include myself, and a number of people, a similar number on Facebook. So you can, if I'm looking up, it's because I'm looking at the Facebook screen. You can chat or write a comment or question, or if you're on Zoom, you can obviously unmute yourself and share it directly with Eneyda at this point. Please feel welcome to continue our dialogue together.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Adela Sayas, and I have more than a question, I have a comment for Eneyda and her presentation. I can say she and Vicky has been working really hard to continue the accompaniment work that we offer as IPM to our project partners, despite their personal challenges. I can imagine that being away from home during this pandemic and other challenging situations, it's very hard, but you have done a remarkable job in the Dominican Republic and in other parts of the Latin American region, like Nicaragua, for example. So I just wanted to congratulate Eneyda and Vicky as well, that is also in this school, for their commitment with the people and putting away sometimes their personal struggles to attend other struggles. So thank you so much. And I also received a comment from one of our staff in the US, Alisa Bobel. She shared a really good idea. And she said that it would be good for us to have a link where we can all access the workshop that you girls did. Because I think that's a wonderful tool. And it can not only work or be helpful for the project partners, but for everyone, really. So yeah, thank you for that resource. And it will be good to share it with everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Adela. Some of those links, if you go to the IPM YouTube page, there's some summary snapshots, I believe short videos or vignettes of the content that was provided during that workshop, but the link, sharing the link for the longer or the full workshop would be wonderful. I would just comment, just so Eneyda knows, that Melissa Altman, who's a Maryknoll lay missioner in Zaragoza, El Salvador, and Carla Martinez, who you know have also both said thank you on Facebook for your presentation, along with a number of other people that are watching there.
Joe or Ilse, aside from financial aid sending to IPM, is there anything that we as individuals can do to help alleviate, for example, masks or other supplies that are needed, and how would we process that?
I think Eneyda or Vicky are probably better to comment on that than I, since I'm there. We have, in one of the parts of Alyssa's, the research that's being conducted that's really important to me is to consider, as you're alluding to, Carol, the other ways that we can partner with people, in addition to sending funding or technical assistance and training. Certainly keeping folks in our prayer life and meditation practice is helpful. It's part of what makes IPM unique. Raising awareness about what's happening in the DR, particularly the forced deportation of hundreds of Dominicans back to the country, even if they're already, you know, you would think if they would test positive COVID here, that they would be put in hospital care, not sent home. But many people have been forcibly repatriated throughout Latin America and the Caribbean by this administration, if they're not fully documented and have tested positive for the novel coronavirus or full-blown COVID-19. As far as the masks and other items, I would turn that again over to Vicky and Eneyda. Joanna typically would be in the United States during the summer months, and we would often meet in Rochester, Buffalo, somewhere around upstate, you know, on I-90 in upstate New York. If she was there, particularly when the girls were younger. I'm not sure if she'll be able to come this year, but I'm sure Vicky and Eneyda and probably Adela as well have some perspective on that.
Well, here in El Salvador, I think to make a donation for masks, at least, I don't know very well how it's working I don't know how to say this in English, the aduanas, but I think they are closed right now.
Yeah, the border or
Yeah,
the customs. Yeah, the customs at the border are closed.
I think that in Dominican Republic, it's better to contact directly to Joanna in that case, if some of you want to help her directly. And in the case of Nicaragua and Colombia, well, we have to check how is everything working there with the borders. I think medical and supplies and things like these are welcome, including here in El Salvador, but we have to check that how are how is the government taking care of all these things.
Vicky, do you have a perspective on that? I notice you're muted, but you were there as well for quite some time. Or Adela, you've traveled there. I've only been to the DR 2 or 3 times, so.
Yes. Well, just like Eneyda said, I think it's a better idea always to check in with Joanna because she knows a little bit better how the situation is going there. I think if anyone wants to contact her, you can always contact us in IPM and we can redirect you with Joanna. Then in the case of El Salvador, like Eneyda said, there's a lot of legal, let's say, misinformation about what things can come, what things can go. So I think for now, it is also a great idea, like you said, Joe, to maybe share or posts to get other people to know what's going on. I think that's also a great idea. That will be all on my part. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would add that Joanna is notorious in a good way for going 24 hours a day, you know, however many minutes that equates to, and very difficult to get a hold of. I mean, we have a way that we communicate with one another if we need to be in touch, but you can always contact Adela directly, and she could, you know, connect you, or when she's reaching out, or Eneyda or Vicky, respectively, are reaching out directly to Joanna, they could convey your question to her, or often her daughter's Glory Mayorville in the capital are accessible, and we can communicate, get a message to her through them. But Joanna is literally, if you have trouble with her in the DR, she's got one hand on the wheel, one hand on a phone. If she's lucky to have one hand on the wheel, sometimes it's her knee on the wheel and her hand gesticulating out the window and the other hand on the phone as she's driving around, and everywhere you go. I mean, every 5 minutes you're being stopped by someone that wants to talk to her about something, or hop in the back of the pickup. And, often, her staff, as I did when I was there, spent most of my time riding around on a little Chinese motorcycle and, just going from community to community trying to, catch up on things. So, that's part of our model of partnership. We, as you well know, Carol, and you're quoted in our video of almost 2 decades ago saying this, that direct connection is so deeply important. But we also, want to be respectful of people when they have so much on their hands right now. And the regional staff all have, strong personal, long-standing relationships with Joanna, and I'm sure and her daughters be happy to contact her, as does Alyssa, who's not on Zoom but is on Facebook with us, and Fatima Pakas, who's, I think most of you know, in the midst of doing a Fulbright in the US, but still connected to IPM in Southern California right now. Alyssa, is there anything you would add? I mean, you have quite, I'm kind of asking, I know you're on Facebook, you may not be able to respond, but if you have anything to add, please feel free to do so. Mickey, you were there. Did we lose Mickey? Mickey spent some time there on an immersion years ago with Marilyn Stavanger, Eden faculty, who has since passed a little over a year ago now. But they had an incredibly powerful experience in the DR with Joanna and a couple of Yale students. Actually, that was sort of the test for the Yale Divinity School partnership that we still have, where 2 or 3 Yale Divinity School students, Dana Capasso and Jordan Scruggs, went along with the delegation on an immersion in the DR. Marie Manning, who is a Notre Dame sister, I think I unfortunately said Ursuline the last time she had a comment a few weeks ago. Marie is a Notre Dame sister who spent a lot of time working with their different sort of cohorts of sisters throughout Latin America, Kenya, and India. And she's just thanking you, Eneyda, and again asking that she could have a copy of the workshop made available to her that she could share with their partners, I think, around the world. Anyone else? Any questions, comments?
Joe, I would just like to echo again Adela's comments and yours as well in terms of Eneyda's presentation and her commitment. I mean, it's so wonderful to work with colleagues that are so passionate, and we're so grateful, and we could never thank them enough for all that they do beyond their normal workday in terms of their commitment and generosity. And Carol, to your point, I think certainly the financial support that folks give IPM, we could not be more grateful for. But if you all can share within your own circles of friends and contacts, these forums that we're presenting, it really speaks to the heart of IPM's mission. And we're so grateful. I see that, Peter, you're joining us today. And without being emotional, which I don't think I can not do, Peter's parents, and Paul Stragi and Versil, they were the co-founders of IPM, and their legacy of love and compassion and empowerment continue to inspire us every day. And 46 years later, this little organization is still here, and it couldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you that join us for these forums, all of you that take interest in our work and really have kept our vision and core values for human dignity alive. So thank you all for joining us, and please continue to expand our circle of reach and awareness, as Joe said, through these forums and other virtual programming that we're looking to do more and more now. So thank you all.
Thank you for saying that, Ilsa. And as far as the masks directly, Carol, I think if you if you have an ability to access masks in bulk, you know, and say, you know, minimum, you know, of 100 or so, we could certainly get those to our, you know, partners in respective regions. As I think some of you know, and we talked about earlier, the Hindu and Muslim women in Ahmedabad, for example, made 6,000 masks, I think with a $100 donation from IPM or some crazy number like that for their community. And other partners around the world are making masks as well. Sister Gladys, who's a Franciscan in Kenya, I was on the on WhatsApp with yesterday, and her community is making masks for the schools in the, you know, the boarding schools in particular, where the girls are stuck sort of up country. So we can, you know, if it's a large enough quantity, it makes sense to send it. And I'm certainly hoping that at least the staff will be able to travel within regions in the coming months. And so we could also carry a package or a box of masks if that's appropriate. I don't know if Eneyda or Adela have an update on the community at Lidio Cochola in El Zaite, El Salvador. They've been making masks as well for some time, as have others. So I'm not sure about the need, if you will, project by project, but maybe someone could help me out with that. Eneyda or Adela, do you have any insight on mask needs in El Salvador in particular, if any?
I think, Joe, that masks are always needed because right now I think they are very expensive here in El Salvador. So yeah, it will be a really great idea to have some masks for everybody in El Zaite, but not only for El Zaite, but for the rest of our project partners here.
Great, thank you, Eneyda. Alyssa Bovell, who many of you heard from last year, who's been a member of the IPM team formally for about 5 years now and is working from Atlanta, where she just completed her master's a year ago now, hard to believe, in international development with a focus on gender equity and project monitoring, evaluation, assessment, and learning, has commented that this was a great discussion, Eneyda. It's clear that COVID-19 has affected women and girls disproportionately and compounded vulnerabilities in relation to care responsibilities, economic and income generating possibilities, access to sexual and reproductive health services, etc. And we should have more to share in relation to the impact directly on our project partners throughout our research assessment. So that will be additional information that, as we discussed, I believe it was last week, and we'll be doing a forum on that in Spanish in a couple of weeks as well, if you're interested in attending. We'll be sharing with the board and with others this autumn in the US, so sometime in October or November, likely. Mahesh, I'd see you there. I don't know what your voice capability is, but is there anything you would want to share about need around, to Carol's question in particular, around masks or support for mask production in India and Nepal in particular?
I think we're doing pretty okay with mask production, and we are looking forward to now servicing more members, because in the rural areas, for example, where Himmat works, we have around 7,000 population waiting for fresh masks. So the masks are always very helpful. Nepal, unfortunately, the lockdown still continues, and I think we should be able to transfer some resources next week. And hopefully Sony will be able to then send it from Kathmandu to Bandipur and transfer it over there. But the demand certainly is there, because since the lockdown is being lifted, there's more public travel, there's more interface with larger society, bus transport, road transportation, train travel, vending, domestic work, construction work, all of these things are starting on a very big scale soon. So I think the demand for masks is not going to go down, it's going to go up, you know. So that's something that I just want to add. Yeah.
And could I ask, Eneyda, since you're on the call, but certainly Adela and Vicky, if they'd like, for many of you know that the tropical storm Amanda had a really terrible impact on El Salvador, and then Cristobal just subsequently followed. So it might be helpful in the minute or two we have left to get a quick update for those listening or watching on what the situation is like in El Salvador. I know neighboring Guatemala has been impacted quite significantly as well, but is there anything you can add or share with us at this point, Eneyda?
Yes, well, actually, right now here in El Salvador, we are facing two crises, COVID-19 and the consequences of the storm Amanda. A lot of project partners here are struggling with floods, and some of them have problems in their houses because like the roof is not as strong right now. So the water is filtered in their houses. So we are in a program that it is like solidarity to have some funds to help to our project partners right now. We are doing these in with local donations, people who are willing to donate here in El Salvador, but also the United States. So if you want, you can donate through our website. There is the button to donate, and you can write specifically where do you want that those funds goes. So yeah, basically that's my report from these two crises.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also to add a little bit on that, Annie, thank you. Well, so we have been struggling as country with a lot of challenges. COVID-19 has brought challenges not only in health, but also in education, in the social political context of the country, also in the economy of the country. So it has been very hard for the majorities in the country to survive COVID-19, and not specifically for the virus, but for the other situations that this virus has brought, as the ones that I was mentioning. And now we have these tropical storms hitting really hard our country. We had Amanda last Sunday, and now we're facing other tropical storms. We have Cristobal and others coming. So we're really worried about the situation of the country, and especially for the most vulnerable people. Some of our project partners have had many challenges in terms of food, in terms of flooding in their houses and in their projects or their workplaces. So definitely normality has changed for a lot of Salvadorians. And now we have to look for other ways to get income, to spend time with our families, to be safe in general, you know. I can say that now gang violence, as many of you know, it's not as challenging as it was in the past before COVID-19. But now we have other types of violence hitting our country, like feminicide, for example. We have had 24 approximately feminicides, people just killing women by being women in the country. And we have had 10, we have had less deaths of COVID-19. So it's just ironical, you know. And now we also have structural violence, which is this type of violence that is created by the system and that attacks the most vulnerable people, the ones that have more need. So structural violence right now is hitting the poorest of the poor in our country, leaving them without any options to get any income, to get food, to get proper health. and to get proper jobs and to stay safe. So we are definitely working, and especially our project partners are working in their communities, which are one of the most vulnerable areas, to relieve some of these problems. But honestly and personally, I think this should be the work of the government to attend these needs. But our project partners are empowered and are working really hard every day despite their own challenges to provide the accompaniment and the support that many people need around very vulnerable areas. So right now, the storm is one more of our worries. But as Eneyda was saying, we have created raise funding for people that are here in the country, but also for people that it's outside. One of our dearest friends and colleagues, Becca Mutter, she's a Mariner that worked with one of our project partners for more than 1 year. She has now been getting some support of her network, and has these friends and family in the United States from her. They have been providing donations and support that is coming to El Salvador. So we really appreciate any type of support, and this can be economical support, but also, as Eneyda, Joe and Ilse have also mentioned, to spread the word about what's happening, to spread the word about the work that our project partners are doing also. I think this is very important, and it shows the solidarity that we can maintain with people that it's far away from our country, but because it's is solidarity the ones that allows us to be close in moments like crisis like this one.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Adela. I would like to be conscious of everyone's time. We're just over our 12 o'clock time here. I want to remind you that to please keep the Carranza family, the extended family in Zaragoza, El Salvador, in your prayers and meditation practices as they continue to mourn the loss of their dear, in the case of our staff, aunt and extended mother-in-law, if you will, Rosita, and also to keep Vic Sager in particular as well in your prayers and meditation practices. I think last week we mentioned that he had had unexpected surgery, and there clearly have been some complications, and so he's in hospice care now in St. Louis, and Ilse and I and others have been on their Caring Bridge website, but it looks, the family seems to be coping well, but it's a very difficult situation now, and I think those of you know that Flo has had her own health challenges as of late. So to keep the Sager family and Carranza families, again, in your thoughts and prayers and meditation practices. To let you know that next week at this time, 11 Eastern, we will be joined by Rodrigo de Castro Amadea Perret, who is an IPM International Executive Board member, project partner, or project coordinator, really well known in international circles for his work with Franciscans International and the Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Commission in Brazil, where he's been a leader. He was also the leader of the JPIC office in Rome after I left that position there, but has returned to Brazil subsequently, does remarkable work, and will be speaking about the crisis in Brazil that is now starting to get covered. More recently, the dictator there, as I think you know, has even gone as far as being banned, which takes quite a bit of nefarious activity to be banned under this administration. But he has just been denying COVID now for months, and their numbers are the second highest infection rate in the world, and probably a death rate if they're doing the counting appropriately, which they're not at this time. Similar to the US perhaps even, and particularly in Sao Paulo and in Rio de Janeiro, where Rodrigo spends much time at the large Franciscan center there in the city, in addition to his work in Belo Horizonte, upcountry, if you will, with the landless population. So that will be at 11 o'clock on Friday. And then we did delay the inaugural virtual Spanish language virtual forum this Friday because of the tropical storm situation in Central America, but we're thrilled that Adela has agreed to present next week. And so she'll be presenting in Spanish at 2 p.m. Eastern time, so 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. And that will not be translated live, but you're certainly welcome to join or watch, work on your Spanish, if you will, during that presentation. And we anticipate having a much broader participation from our project partners throughout the region, in addition to the regional staff and others for that new Spanish language forum, which will be happening each week. I'd like to thank you again on behalf of everybody at IPM for your support and participation in today's forum. As Adela said so well, this is what global solidarity is all about, and what is particularly needed at this time in our world. Feels like it's needed as much now as back in those founding days when Jim and Paul and their families got this little organization started. So thank you all again for your support, and may the peace that passes understanding be with you throughout the weekend and the coming week. Take care.
Yep. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.